You think Lush Life by Zara Larsson is just a dumb, happy summer party song? Well, you've been tricked. Today, we're diving into how this is actually a dark breakup track that drove a record label so crazy they had to shoot 3 different music videos for it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people always ask, wait, seriously, there's deep lore behind this pop song. And yes, there really is.
Or totally is. So today, we are taking the official lyric sheet and the underlying production data to uncover this whole story of calculated lyrical dissonance, massive music industry panic, and a level of physiological manipulation that was basically engineered in a Stockholm studio.
Yeah, because pop music is so often dismissed as, completely superficial. We hear a bouncy tropical house beat and just naturally assume there is zero substance underneath the production.
Right, it's just a summer banger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you actually take the time to synthesize the text, the chaotic geographical release history, and, well, the literal mathematical architecture of this specific track, a completely different narrative emerges. It fundamentally rewrites the song you thought you knew.
Okay, let's unpack this because we need to strip away that shiny production first. The disconnect between how this song sounds and what the text is actually communicating is just massive.
It really is.
Like, the sonic profile hits you immediately with these bright, syncopated marimba sounds and this driving bass line. It just telegraphs pure summer beach party. But the lyrics are fundamentally about the aftermath of a breakup.
Right, and more specifically, it's about the deeply reckless coping mechanisms someone uses to manage that sudden rush of pain. The textual narrative is just entirely deceptive when you pair it with that beat.
Completely deceptive.
Take the chorus, which is arguably the hook that made the song a global phenomenon in the first place. The lyrics are literally, I live my day as if it was the last. Live my day as if there was no past.
Which sounds so happy, right?
Yeah, backed by a high-energy rhythm, the listener's brain interprets that as this carefree, live-in-the-moment celebration. But within the context of the preceding verses, living without a past isn't celebration at all.
No, it's an active, forceful erasure.
Exactly. The narrator is engaging in impulsive behavior, specifically to obliterate the memory of a failed relationship.
And the verses don't even try to hide it either. I mean, the lyrics spell out the inciting incident right away. She says, it was a crush. I kept saying I'ma stay in touch, but that thing went bust.
Right.
And then she follows that up with, I'm just better off without them cuffs. It's an incredibly defensive posture.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the psychological equivalent of throwing an incredibly loud, expensive fireworks display specifically so your neighbors don't hear you crying through the wall. I mean, I want you, the listener, to think about your own playlists for a second. We've all done this, like blindly dance to a beat without realizing we were enthusiastically belting out a tragedy.
Oh, totally. And what's fascinating here is that songwriters actually have a term for that specific psychological tension. They call it lyrical dissonance.
Lyrical dissonance.
Yeah, it is the deliberate, calculated friction between a song's sonic profile and its textual meaning. The producers are intentionally creating this jarring experience for the listener.
Wait, so it's on purpose?
100%. We see this cemented in one of the most revealing lines in the entire track, which is, went low, went high, still waters run dry.
A line that has absolutely zero business being in a party anthem, by the way.
None whatsoever. I mean, the idiom, still waters run dry, implies a profound, complete emotional exhaustion. The well is entirely empty. There's literally nothing left to give.
Yeah.
So you take that stark admission of being emotionally drained, and you immediately crash it into the relentless, upbeat chorus of doing it all night, all summer.
Wow.
Suddenly that chorus sounds less like a party and significantly more like a manic attempt to outrun sadness. The partying isn't the goal. The partying is the anesthetic.
It's the sheer exhaustion of having to maintain that facade. Like, look how much fun I am having. I'm definitely not heartbroken. It reframes the entire listening experience. And that inherent emotional confusion, wrapping a deeply defensive, sad song inside a pristine dance hit, that actually created a massive problem for the music industry, didn't it?
Oh, it caused absolute chaos.
Because the track didn't behave like a standard pop release, which threw the record label into this incredibly bizarre reactive spiral.
Yeah, the release history of Lush Life completely broke the standard operational procedure of the modern music industry. Typically, a label operates on a very rigid cycle, right? You release a single, pump marketing dollars into it for a few weeks to force it to peak.
And then just let it fade and move on to the next track.
Exactly. But this song became a classic sleeper hit. It just refused to peak and fade. It slowly burned across different global markets over an extended, unpredictable timeline.
And that slow burn resulted in an absolutely wild visual timeline. Like, the label ended up shooting 3 entirely separate official music videos for this one song.
Which is unheard of.
Right, most massive global hits only get one. But the sources map out this crazy progression. So version 1 drops in 2015. It is this highly cost-effective, low-budget video shot in Sweden, mostly featuring just a simple white background.
Very stripped down.
Yeah. Then we get version 2. This is an updated cut that heavily features all these colorful, kinetic graphic overlays. That version was designed specifically to push the song to European markets.
Right, catering to the club scene.
Exactly. And finally, version 3 drops in 2016. This is a massive, high-budget US release featuring huge pastel sets, backup dancers, and professional choreography, all because the song stubbornly kept charting a full year after its initial release.
Yeah, the visual language of the song had to constantly mutate to accommodate the cultural expectations of its expanding geographical reach.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back on that narrative a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the song is already organically climbing the charts and crossing borders, why not just let it ride? Like, why wouldn't a record label just stick with the first video?
Well,
Shooting 3 entirely different videos over 2 years feels less like strategic mutation and more like the industry machine just straight up panicking. It looks like they were desperately trying to catch lightning in a bottle after the storm had already passed, instead of just trusting the organic momentum of the song.
if we connect this to the bigger picture, you would totally assume it's panic. But you have to look at how international distribution and marketing budgets are actually allocated. The label wasn't just panicking. They were trying to buy access to highly gated regional markets.
Wait, buy access? How does a video do that?
Well, a simple white background video shot on a Swedish budget works perfectly for a domestic proof of concept. But European music television and club promotion relies heavily on visual energy and kinetic movement.
Yeah, well,
And hence the second video added those graphic overlays to simulate a high-energy club aesthetic, which makes it much more palatable for European networks to put on their rotation.
okay, so the visual needs to match the distribution channel. I get that. But what about the massive American video a full year later?
The American pop market is just an entirely different beast. To break into the US top 40, you cannot just have a catchy song. You need to present a superstar narrative.
Right, the whole package.
Exactly. American audiences and radio programmers expect visual grandeur like choreography, distinct set designs, a larger-than-life persona. A localized Swedish video doesn't read as main pop girl in Los Angeles.
That makes sense.
The label had to keep reinvesting and artificially inflating the visual package to convince new, larger markets that this was a brand new, current hit rather than a song that had actually been out for 12 months.
So they were basically playing a massive game of catch-up with their own artists' success, like constantly building bigger stages for a song that was outgrowing them.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that forces us to look at the underlying cause. Why did this song have that kind of unstoppable longevity? Why did it survive long enough to demand 3 separate music videos without a massive global rollout plan from day one?
Well, it certainly wasn't an accident.
No. The sources point to a highly calculated formula engineered in a Stockholm songwriting camp.
Yeah, the production architecture of Lush Life is where the story shifts from industry logistics to actual science. The track was built utilizing a methodology often referred to as Swedish pop math.
Pop math. That sounds so clinical.
It is. Since the days of Max Martin in the late 90s, the Stockholm pop scene has treated songwriting less like spontaneous art and more like data-driven engineering.
Right.
Every single element, like the phonetic balance of the vowels, the melodic structure, and crucially, the tempo is engineered for maximum psychological impact.
And the most important piece of data they engineered into this track is the tempo. The producers locked the song in at exactly 98 beats per minute, or BPM. And that specific number is basically a biological skeleton key. 98 BPM mimics a slightly elevated resting heart rate.
Precisely. They aren't just choosing a tempo that sounds good for dancing. They are actually targeting the human autonomic nervous system.
It is a concept called biological entrainment. I mean, think about a wall full of old pendulum clocks. If you start them all at different times, eventually the physical vibrations traveling through the wall will force all the pendulums to swing in perfect, synchronized harmony.
Oh, wow.
Right. The human body does the exact same thing with external rhythms. When you introduce a pervasive, repetitive bass drum at exactly 98 BPM, your cardiovascular system naturally wants to sync with that external pulse. It's like an audio caffeine injection.
That is just brilliant. The body actively seeks that rhythmic synchronization.
Yeah.
By forcing the listener's heart rate to mimic an elevated state, the brain receives physiological feedback that something exciting is happening.
Yeah.
An elevated pulse is interpreted as anticipation, energy, or quite literally a physical rush.
Which is an absolute masterstroke when you look back at the lyric sheet. The chorus literally states, "The lush life's given me a rush." The songwriters aren't just telling you a story about a rush. They are utilizing biological entrainment to forcefully inject that physical sensation into your bloodstream. Think about what's happening to your body right now. A team of songwriters in Sweden basically hacked your central nervous system. They programmed the beat to biohack your heart rate.
This raises an important question about how deeply we are biologically manipulated by the media we consume, because it creates the ultimate devastating contradiction of the track.
Definitely.
The mathematical production forces your physical body to feel energized, optimistic, and excited. Meanwhile, your conscious brain is being fed a narrative about deeply painful emotional exhaustion and a failed relationship.
Yeah.
The lyrical dissonance isn't just a clever literary device on a piece of paper. It is a biological event happening inside the listener.
Your body is throwing a party while your brain is mourning a breakup. And the sheer effectiveness of that biological trick is exactly why the song wouldn't die on the charts. People kept hitting replay because their central nervous system literally enjoyed the physical sensation of that 98 BPM entrainment, even if they couldn't consciously explain why they were so drawn to a song about heartbreak.
It forces you to question how much of our media consumption is genuine artistic preference and how much is just our biology responding to highly targeted mathematical structures. It is a profoundly effective piece of engineering.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from a summer banger to heartbreak to biological hacking.
Well, as we synthesize all of these elements, the lyrical masking, the visual escalation, the physiological tempo, it actually reframes the entire conclusion of this song.
How so?
We've established that the upbeat persona is a defensive mechanism to handle the pain of a crush that went bust.
Right.
But the final lines of the lyric sheet introduce a sudden shift. The song closes with a repetition of these lines. Now I found another crush, the lush life's given me a rush, had one chance to make me blush, second time is one too late.
Wait, she introduces a completely new crush right at the very end.
Exactly, which leaves us with a fascinating psychological cliffhanger.
Oh, I see where this is going.
If the entire premise of the lush life is a reckless coping mechanism designed to anesthetize the pain of a previous failed relationship,
Yeah.
is this ending a triumphant story of a woman who has successfully moved on? Or is finding another crush at the very end of this manic 98 BPM rush proof that no healing actually took place?
Ah, that is incredibly dark.
Isn't it? Is it possible that she is simply substituting one distraction for another and the exact same toxic cycle of heartbreak and defensive partying is about to start all over again from the beginning?
Because the beat never changes, so the cycle never stops.
Exactly.
Wow. You're going to have to pull up the track, feel that tempo for yourself, and decide if she is cured or if she's just resetting the loop. Keep a close eye on those carefree summer playlists because you never know what kind of devastating emotional narrative or biological hacking is hiding behind a simple marimba beat. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden architecture of pop music.